The Grapes, Nuts, Flakes program coming to you from New York City, where we're playing to an audience of men on leave from the armed services and starring Jack Benny, with Mary Livingston, Dennis Day, Rochester, yours truly, Don Wilson, and our guest conductor, Abe Lyman. Friends, I met a woman today who has 3 sons on 3 different work shifts. Boy, does that big 12-ounce package of delicious toasty brown grape nuts flakes get a workout at her house, with breakfast time rolling around 3 times a day. Yes, these days, breakfast may come at odd hours, but whenever it comes time for breakfast, it means time for crisp, toasty grape nuts flakes. A breakfast of malty-rich grape nuts flakes is a breakfast of swell, tasting, all-around nourishment, because Grape Nuts Flakes are a whole-grain cereal. Now, whole-grain cereals are not only health builders, they're thrifty and plentiful. And they're whole grain because they bring you the important food essentials you find in the natural whole wheat. Vital food factors you need, including iron and 2 of the health-building B vitamins, niacin and B1. So get set for the breakfast shift with delicious, nourishing Grape Nuts Flakes. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the most fantastic introduction of the year.
Fantastic?
I bring you a famous concert violinist who is making his debut this evening at Carnegie Hall, Jack Benny.
Thank you. Hello again. This is Jack Yasha Benny talking. And, folks, I'm as nervous as a pizzicato. And, Don, that's the truth. I am playing my violin at Carnegie Hall tonight.
But, Jack, it's so fantastic.
Will you stop saying that? This is a benefit for the Infantile Paralysis Fund, and I'm appearing as a soloist on the same program with Gladys Swarthout, Isaac Stern, Marjorie Lawrence, John Charles, and Thomas. And,
That's John Charles Thomas. It's one man.
It is? Gosh, I sent all 3 of them Christmas cards. Anyway, there are going to be a lot more prominent artists there, including Oscar Levant. He's going to be my accompanist. I expect him to drop by and pick me up.
Well, Jack, aren't you just a bit nervous appearing with so many musical celebrities?
No, why should I be nervous? We all get along fine. I'm very nice to them, and they don't speak to me. That is all but Gladys. Gladys, she thinks my playing is marvelous.
Gladys Swarthout?
No, Gladys Jones, her maid. She's a cousin of Rochester's. Oh, hello, Mary.
Hello, Jack. Why don't you grow up?
Mary, what do you mean, why don't I grow up?
Well, I passed Carnegie Hall just now, and what's the idea of writing your name on all the posters?
I didn't write my name. It's printed. You know, I'm making my debut there tonight.
Gee whiz.
Just think, my first appearance on the concert stage.
Gosh.
Too bad my old violin teacher can't be there.
Too bad he shot himself during your 5th lesson.
Yeah, I'll never forget that afternoon. I was right in the middle of da-da-da-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da-da-da-dee-da, and bang. And I had 5 more lessons coming. By the way, Mary, you're attending the concert tonight, aren't you?
Who else is appearing?
Well, there's Gladys Swarthout, Isaac Stern, John Charles Thomas.
John Charles Thomas.
Yeah.
You know, Jack, that always sounds funny to me, a man with 3 first names.
Yep, John Charles Thomas. Incidentally, it's not commonly known, but I have 3 first names, too.
That's right, Jack Jerk Benny.
That's Jack John Benny. And speaking of unusual names, say, Don.
Yes, Jack.
Come here a minute. This'll kill you. What do you think? This'll positively amaze you, but it's the truth, you know. What do you think Fred Allen's middle name is?
What?
Florence. Fred Florence Allen. Imagine.
Well, why in the world did his parents ever name him Florence?
Well, I'll give you a hint, Don. Allen didn't shave until he was 33 years old. In fact, he still wears his garters above his knees. Hey, Mervyn Dorse is in the audience. No kidding, huh?
You should talk about Alan. I saw a picture of you when you were 15 years old and you were playing with dolls.
Well, I still have a couple of dolls on my lap now and then, sister.
They're still full of sawdust, too.
Well, that's the cattiest remark I've ever heard.
Speaking of cats, whatever became of that girl you were engaged to?
Speaking of cats, what girl?
The one with the big grin and the whiskers.
Now, cut that out. You're having a jolly time tonight, aren't you?
Say, Mr. Benny, is it all right if I take my girl to...
Oh, hello. Hello, Dennis.
Hello.
What did you want, kid?
I said, is it all right if I take my girl to your concert at Carnegie Hall?
Well, sure, Dennis. Is she a music lover?
Is she? She's got a short thumb from pushing nickels in jukeboxes.
She does like music. Where does your girlfriend live, Dennis?
If I knew where she lived, I wouldn't be wasting my time at a concert.
Well, you'll enjoy it, Dennis. There are a lot of great artists on the program. There's Jan Pierce, Ezio Pinza, Joseph and Rosina Levine, Deans Taylor.
Yeah, and don't forget John Charles and Thomas.
Wait a minute. I made that same mistake. It's John Charles Thomas, Dennis.
Holy smoke, has he got 4 names?
Dennis is you.
Oh. In the blue suit here.
What?
In the blue suit here.
Yes. Well, kid. Oh, brother. Well, kid, speaking of John, Charles, and Thomas, how about a song from you, huh?
Okay, but I'll never top him.
So what? For heaven's sake, I don't expect to top Heifetz.
Aw, Jack, you're just being modest. You're as good as Heifetz any day.
What?
You don't think they'd let you play in Carnegie Hall unless you were one of the world's greatest violinists.
Well, that's a lovely compliment. Thanks, Mary.
You're welcome, it also says here.
Don't spoil it. You always have to do that. Huh?
Well, I don't know about anyone else, but personally, I think Mr. Benny is one of the finest violinists of this earache.
That's era. Earache. Well, there's 2 compliments shot to... Oh, well. Sing, Dennis, and let's get on with the show. Wait a minute. Come in.
Telegram for Jack Benny.
Take it, Mary. Wait a minute, buddy. Here's a tip for you.
Oh, boy, $50. Yippee!
No use waiting. I got to get new glasses. Who's the wire from, Mary?
It's from your father.
Oh, good old Dad. What does he say?
Dear son, congratulations on your appearance in Carnegie Hall tonight. Please let me know how your full dress suit goes over.
He made me a beauty, folks. The tails change color like a peacock. Sing, Dennis.
Well, I'll probably get slugged for this, but I got a cold.
All right, do the best you can. What do you care?
I really thought I had a place in your heart, but now I see it never was me. It was someone else right from the start. You're dreaming one too many, so my dream can never come true. You love him, he loves you, I love you too. The three dreams are one too many, so my dream can never come true. My hoping that you would love me was only a madcap scheme that left me in the middle of this crazy little street on a dream. You're happy, he's happy, I know I'm through. Three dreams are one too many, so I'll give my dream to you. Three dreams are one too many, so I'll give my dream to you.
That was Three Dreams from the picture Powers Girl, sung by Dennis Day. And, Dennis, that's one of the numbers you sing in the picture, isn't it?
Yes, sir. You'll see it, Mr. Benny. I play the part of a fellow who has more money than brains.
Oh.
It's sure hard to act like you got money, by golly.
Well, I imagine it is. Oh, hello, Abe.
Hiya, Jack.
Abe Lyman, fellas. All right, Abe, stop shaking hands over your head like a prize fighter. What a character.
Hey, before I forget it, Jack, congratulations. I hear you're going to play at Canarsie Hall tonight.
No use talking. Phil Harris is a genius, really. That's Carnegie Hall on 57th Street. By the way, Ever, you coming to the concert?
I'd like to, Jack, but that highbrow music gives me a rash.
A what?
A rash.
Oh.
Speaking of highbrow music, Jack, I've written a message which includes the names of various operas, concealed in a very clever manner.
Oh, fine. Last week it was birds, now it's opera, is it?
Well, now, see if you can pick them out, Jack.
The operas?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first thing tomorrow morning, go into your kitchen and have a dish of toasty brown sweet as a nut grape nuts flakes. I know they're good because I eat of them every day.
Well, there's Faust and Aida.
Whether you live in a White House, a Red House, or a Tannhauser, you'll love America's fastest growing cereal. So remember, folks, even if you're feeling lowin', you will grin with grape nuts flakes.
Poor Lohengrin really got dragged in there. But, Don, that was all right. I'll see that you get a raise for that.
But, Jack, with the new ceiling on salaries, you can't give raises.
Yes, sir. And now, ladies and gentlemen... go away, Don. Go away. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for our feature attraction this evening, we are going to present a gripping drama of the Old South entitled...
Say, Mr. Benny, I was out in the hall just now, and there's a...
Oh, hello, Dennis.
Hello. Say, Mr. Benny, I was out in the hall just now.
How are
and
you
there's a-
feeling, kid?
Oh, I was here before, remember?
Oh, yes, that's right, in the blue suit. What do you want, Dennis?
Well, there's a man waiting for you out in the hall, and he says for you to hurry up.
The man out in the hall. Oh, that must be Oscar Levant. Come on in, Oscar.
Hello, Jack. Are you all ready?
Yes, I'm ready to go. Well, Oscar, I see you're prepared to accompany me on the piano tonight. Do you always wear those white gloves?
These are my hands. I just came from the blood bank.
Very good. I'll have to watch out for this guy. He's sharper than a buck tooth. I'll be through here in a few minutes, Oscar. Then we'll hop in a cab and go over to Carnegie Hall. Just think, Benny and Levant playing a duet.
Let's walk. Maybe we'll get run over before we get there.
That's all right. I got to be on my toes, dear. This guy's making a monkey out of me. Oh, by the way, Oscar, I think you know everybody here, don't you?
Sure. Oh, Mary, didn't I see you at the Stork Club last night?
The Stork Club?
Yes, you were dancing with that South American.
Oh, that was Jack with a black toupee.
I was in bed by 10 o'clock last night. Although I couldn't sleep, I was so nervous thinking about our concert tonight.
You were nervous. My wife had to pull me off the windowsill 3 times.
I gotta watch out. He's an ad-libbing fool, you know? Oh, Oscar, I don't think you know Abe Lyman, our band leader.
I've known Abe for years.
Sure, we sat together at Rubens last night. Say, Oscar, you know, that was a pretty good bowl of soup I drank.
You didn't drink that soup. You auditioned it.
You beat me to it, Oscar. I was just going to ad-lib something like that. Honest, I was.
You couldn't ad-lib a sneeze with a nose full of pepper.
I couldn't, eh?
Well, go ahead and say something. Go ahead, ad-lib.
Well,
Go ahead. Say something funny.
well,
This seems to be a good time to say hello to my mother. Hello, Mom.
Well, I could say something funny, but how can I think with that darn Dennis Day standing there staring at me?
Well, that sweat rolling down your forehead fascinates me.
I wasn't thinking that hard. Well, anyway, Oscar, stick around. I'll be with you in a minute. And now, ladies and gentlemen, as I start to announce, we're going to do a satire on one of radio's most intelligent and popular programs, Information, Please.
Wait a minute. You said we were going to do...
Never mind. And we have prevailed upon Mr. Oscar Levant to come over here this evening and be our guest expert.
I come over here to pick you up and take you to Carnegie Hall.
Well, for heaven's sake, Oscar, as long as you're here, let's have some fun. It's a small enough favor to ask me after I got you on that concert.
You got me on.
Yes.
You better lay off that Benzedrine, brother.
All right, be a sport. I certainly can't do a program like Information, Please, with dopes like Abe Lyman and Dennis Day.
And you.
And me. Now, cut that out. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, right after a number by Abe Lyman and his orchestra, we'll present our own version of the... I'll take it. That must be Rochester. I told him to bring my full-dress suit over here. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Benny. This is Rochester.
Yes, Rochester.
I'm just leaving the hotel, boss. I've got your top hat, white tie, and tail.
That's Tails.
Tail. One of them got caught in the elevator.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'll certainly look funny playing my violin in Carnegie Hall with one tail.
You might as well face it, boss. You're going to look funny anyway.
Well, that's one of the most careless things I ever heard. I guess I'll have to wear my tuxedo.
Your tuxedo?
Yes. Did you press it like I told you to?
Well, I pressed the coat all right, but I had a long phone call during the pants.
Oh, so you left the hot iron on my pants. Where'd you burn them?
I think the French word is derriere.
Well, what am I going to do?
I can bring along some black paint.
Never mind that. I'll just have to be careful how I take my bow. Oh, wait a minute. I have another idea. I think I'll wear my blue serge suit.
That blue serge is awful shiny, boss.
It is not shiny.
I wish I had a diamond that threw off a glare like that.
Look, Rochester, no excuses. You get over here right away with my blue serge suit. Goodbye.
Goodbye, boss.
Sorry, Oscar. I'll have to wear a blue serge suit tonight. Will that be all right?
Sure, I'm wearing a leopard skin myself.
Very good. What a guy. He's really on the beam. Play, Lyman. That was I Can't Give You Anything But Love. Sorry, Abe, we had to cut this kind of short, but that was I Can't Give You Anything But Love, played by Abe Lyman and his Hotel Lincoln Orchestra. Hey, that's a good one. Abe at the Lincoln.
I don't get it.
Who asked you to? Be thankful you got a plug. And now, Don, I think it's about time for, Now, who's that? Come in. Yes, sir?
Is this the Jack Benny program? I'm supposed to be in your play tonight.
Oh, yes, you were going to be the villain. What's your name?
Joe Besser.
Messer?
No, Besser!
I'm sorry, Mr. Besser. We're not doing a play this evening.
Now, wait a minute. I want to act.
All right, calm down. I'll find something for you to do.
You better, you old crazy you.
Now, sit down, please. All right, Don, let's get started. Come on.
And now, folks, we bring you our version of Information, Please, with that noted raconteur, lecturer, and book reviewer of the Breeders' Gazette, Clifton Bennyman.
Thank you. Thank you, Milton Wilson. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you all know the rules of Information, Please. I will read several questions submitted by our listeners. And for each question which is not answered by our board of experts, we will give away a page from the Encyclopedia Britannica and one grape nut flake. Are the grape nut flakes here, Mr. Wilson?
Yes, sir. The register's loaded.
Good. Now, I'd like to have you meet our board of experts. First, Mr. Oscar Levant, noted pianist. Or pianist. Which is it, Oscar? Pianist or pianist?
What's the difference? After tonight, I may be washed up.
I gotta watch this guy. He's dynamite, huh? And next, Miss Mary Livingston, well-known authority on poetry. Have you a sample for us, Miss Livingston?
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Shining up above so high, don't you know there's a dim out?
Very, very good. And now, Mr. Abe Lyman, noted authority on Shakespeare and literary light.
There's a dim out there, too.
You said it. Mr. Dennis Day, world-famous authority on.
On what?
And last but not least... Sit down, Dennis. Sit down. Mr. Joe Besser, authority on archaeology, ichthyology, and paleontology.
Well, get him!
And now, folks, we will proceed...
You old crazy you!
Mr. Besser! We will proceed with Information, please. Our first question comes from Miss Bernice Butterball of Baked Potato, Idaho. Miss Butterball wants to know if you can name 3 presidents of the United States whose names begin with W. Well, I see you have your hand raised, Mr. Day.
That's nerves. It just flew up.
Well, don't you know a president whose name begins with W?
Will you give me a hint?
Yes. Who was the Washington Monument named after?
George Monument.
That's right, George Monument, Washington. And now let's have another president beginning with W.
Wendell Willkie.
Willkie didn't win, Mr. Levant.
Well, he's working, that I know.
I gotta watch that boy. He's making a straight man out of me. And now, second, a president whose name begins with W. I'm waiting. Mr. Besser, I see you have your hand up.
Oh, it's not for that!
Well, it looks like Miss Butterball has stumped the experts. So we are sending her immediately a page from the Encyclopedia Britannica and a grape nut flake. Now, here's a letter. Here's a letter from Dr. Bert Scott of Beverly Hills, California. Dr. Scott is a dentist, and he says, Dear Mr. Benny, I have written, and if you don't remit promptly, I will... Whoops. How did I get there? Oh, here's a question from Mr. Joe Jackson of Jackson, Georgia. Mr. Jackson wants to know what the following girls have in common. Joan Crawford, Joan Leslie, Joan Bennett, Joan Fontaine...
Oh, shut up! Not so fast!
Oh, pardon me. You should know know this, Miss Livingston. What have the following movie stars in common? Joan Crawford, Joan Leslie, Joan Bennett, and Joan Fontaine.
None of them will work with you.
Is that so? Well, thanks to your levity, Miss Livingstone, we have lost another page from the encyclopedia and a grape nut plate. Now, here's a question in your field, Mr. Levant. Incidentally, you haven't gotten anything tonight.
You're referring to money, of course.
I'm referring to answers. Now, I'm going to play a musical selection, and I want you to identify the number. Just a second.
Not so loud!
Mr. Besser, please. Now, I'll play it again. I'll play it again, Mr. Levant, and see if you can identify it. Now, what's the name of that number?
Its name is Mud. It used to be Souvenir.
It's still Souvenir. Now, I'll give you one more chance to
Oh, boss! Boss!
Fine, what do you want, Rochester?
Look what time it is. You got to get over to that concert.
That's right, it's getting late. Did you bring my blue serge suit?
Here it is.
Wait a minute, that's my green suit.
It was blue when you bought it.
Well, it's too late to change it now. Come on, Oscar, let's walk over to Carnegie Hall.
Yep, the last mile.
Oh, don't be so pessimistic. Play, Lyman. Come on.
You know, many a proud parent gets a mighty shock when a youngster shoots up overnight. Mom sees little Tommy playing with his blocks, and then, first thing you know, Tommy's curls are gone, and behold, he's a man. Well, not so long ago, Grape Nuts Flakes was just a little shaver, and now, why, just in the past 3 years, the increase in your purchase of Grape Nuts Flakes has been more than that of all the other ready-to-eat cereals put together. And there's a reason. In fact, 2 big reasons. First, it's that sweet-as-a-nut, malty-rich flavor. And it's that grand all-around nourishment. For Grape Nuts Flakes, being a whole grain cereal, bring you vital food factors of natural whole wheat. That means they're one of the 8 types of basic foods recommended as part of your daily diet by our National Nutrition Program. So join the swing to better breakfast by asking for delicious, nutritious Grape Nuts Flakes, America's fastest-growing breakfast cereal.
That was the last number of the 16th program of the new Grape Nuts Flake series. And I want to thank Oscar Levant for appearing here tonight, and also Joe Besser, one of the stars of the Olson and Johnson hit, Sons of Fun. Next Sunday night, folks, we'll be broadcasting from Fort Meade, Maryland. And tomorrow we'll be seeing you boys of the Coast Guard at Manhattan Beach. With my whole gang, including Danny Kaye, the star of Let's Face It. Good night, folks.
The Jack Benny program is written by Bill Morrow and Ed Malloy. The Grape Nuts Flakes program with Rochester, Dennis Day, Bill Goodwin, Paul Whiteman and his orchestra, and yours truly, Don Wilson. And appearing for Jack Benny, who's confined with a cold, we have Jack's personal friends, George Burns and Gracie Allen. Well, ladies, now that shoes are being rationed, you won't want to waste any shoe leather tracking down your week's food order. So, though I don't say run, I do say walk to your nearest grocer's for a big 12-ounce economy-sized package of delicious toasty brown Grape Nuts Flakes. Your grocer has plenty of Grape Nuts Flakes, for whole grain cereals are abundant and thrifty, and they are not rationed. And government nutrition experts say we should eat more of them, eat them oftener. You see, Grape Nuts Flakes in your diet help you to make up for other food shortages because they provide many nutritional essentials, including protective minerals and vitamins. And you get more flavor galore, malty rich goodness, plus toasty brown texture in each luscious spoonful. So take a shortcut to thriftier, grand-tasting, nourishing breakfast by asking your grocer for Grape Nuts Flakes. Ladies and gentlemen, when Jack Benny found that he couldn't do his broadcast tonight, he told me to call on his good friends George Burns and Gracie Allen and ask them to pinch hit for him. So I started for the Burns Hotel to tell them about Jack's problem, never dreaming that another problem was already brewing in the domestic life of George and Gracie.
Gracie, will you please get away from that piano? We've been in New York a week now, and that's all I've heard.
But, George, March 16th is my concert with Paul Whiteman in Carnegie Hall. If I don't practice, I may lose all the magic in my finger.
Look, don't you realize that you're driving everybody nuts with this idea? In the past week, Paul Whiteman has lost 20 pounds.
Oh, I don't think he really lost them, dear. I think they just slipped down a little.
Gracie, why don't you give up the concert idea and try to take an interest in something else?
Oh, I've been busy, George. I spent a whole day showing Herman the sights of the city.
That's great. Sightseeing with a silly duck.
Well, he enjoyed every minute of it, especially at City Hall when I took him in to see Mayor LaGuardia.
Gracie, you shouldn't take a duck in to see LaGuardia.
Well, I simply had to, George. I knew he'd never get another chance to meet a mayor that he could stand beside and look right in the eye.
Well, I never thought of that.
Well, you'll have to excuse me now, George. I have to go work on the gown I'm designing to wear at my concert.
Now, Gracie, that...
Oh, it's a wonderful gown, dear. I decided it should be a musical creation. White satin with a very wide skirt.
What's musical about that?
Well, that's the beauty of it, dear. No one will realize how clever I am until I sit down and lean back.
And then what happens?
Well, I've got an accordion in the bustle.
Oh, no.
Well, I'll be back in a minute, dear.
I wonder how it feels to be married to a woman who makes sense. Oh, well, I'll never know. Come in.
Hello, George.
Well, I'll be Don Wilson. Come on in, Don. How's Jack?
Well, that's why I'm here, George. Jack has a bad cold.
Really? Well, I'm sorry to hear it.
He'd like me to ask you a favor, George.
For sure, anything at all.
Well, Jack won't be able to work tonight, so he wants you and Gracie to take over his show. Now, can you do it?
Well, sure, Don. We'll be happy to do anything for Jack.
Naturally, he knows that your time is valuable, and he doesn't expect you to do it for nothing.
Oh, now, Don.
He wants me to tell you that while he's lying in bed, he'll knit you a muffler.
Ah, good old Jack.
Now, all you have to do is buy the knitting needles and 4 balls of yarn.
Isn't 4 balls of yarn a lot for a muffler?
Oh, Jack wants one, too.
Oh, well, that's nice. That's nice. Gee, I've always envied Jack getting all those laughs. And here's my chance to kill all the people just by saying, or, yipe. And then he always gets a scream when he says, I do not marry and shut up.
Gad, that Benny does say the funniest
Isn't he a
thing.
scream? Yes, he's a real wit, yes.
Oh, George, did you... Why, Paul Whiteman, I'm glad you dropped in.
No, Gracie, I'm Don Wilson. Don't you remember?
Oh, of course, Don. How silly of me. I should have looked at your face first.
Gracie, Don has got some news for us.
Yes, Gracie. You see, Jack Benny is sick in bed, and he wants you...
Sick in bed? Oh, my goodness. I must send him a jar of my homemade crabapple jelly right away.
Well, now,
Oh,
Gracie...
he'll love it. He'll love it. I use only the very best apples and the very best crabs.
Well, I don't think
I
Jack...
sent some of it to my sister Bessie when she had her operation. Of course, I can't tell you about Bessie's operation.
Well, good.
It was done by an army surgeon, and naturally that makes it a military secret.
Gracie, Don wants us to do Jack Benny's program tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry, George, but I couldn't think of going on Jack's program.
You what?
Well, isn't that a comedy program?
Oh, yes.
And don't people laugh at it?
Well, sure.
Well, George, what would my public think? I'm a concert artist.
What's she talking about, George?
Well, Gracie thinks she's going to play the piano at Paul Whiteman's concert in Carnegie Hall.
Yes, would you like to hear the number I'm going to play, Don? Here it is.
And that's what you're going to play at Carnegie Hall?
Well, there's no sense in playing something I don't know.
Gracie, forget this foolishness. We've got to do Jack's program tonight.
Well, I'm awfully sorry, but I couldn't accept an offer to appear on the radio, except on a musical program, of course, such as Dear Artie has.
Oh, you mean Artie Shaw?
Oh, my goodness, no. Artie Toscanini.
Gracie, have you gone out of your mind? We can't let Jack Benny down.
Well, George, I have my career to think of. No great musician can afford to be laughed at. Did Mendelssohn do it? Did Mendel's daughter do it? Did Mendel himself do it?
No, that was a great act, too. The musical Mendels. They were next to closing at the Jefferson.
Gracie, now you mustn't think only of yourself. Think of George. He's very anxious to do Jack Benny's show.
Well, I don't know why. George doesn't know a soul in St. Joe.
Gracie, will you stop being so stubborn?
Well, George, I just can't risk my concert career. There's the world of music, and then there's the world of comedy. You can't mix the two. You know what I always say. East is east, and west is west, and north is north, and south is south, and east is east, and... Well, I guess that covers it.
Yes. That even overlaps a little bit, yeah.
This is Paul Whiteman, and here's one of America's most popular singers with one of America's most popular songs, Dennis Day singing There Are Such Things.
Are that true? There are such things, a dream for two. Someone to whisper, darling, you're my guiding star, not caring what you own, but just what you are, a peaceful sky. There are such things, a rainbow high, where heaven sings. So have a little faith and trust in what tomorrow brings. You'll reach a star because there are such things.
Gracie, you've just got to listen to reason. The Benny program goes on the air in an hour.
I'm sorry, George.
But, Gracie, in a little while, millions of people are going to tune into our program. And what are they going to hear? 30 minutes of silence.
Well, what's the difference if one week the program isn't quite as lively as usual?
Look, Gracie, don't you understand? One of our dearest friends is in a spot, and he needs someone to go on his program.
Oh, I wish we were in California. The Beverly Hills Uplift Society All-Girl Symphony Orchestra would be glad to do the program.
That silly club of yours. Nobody is interested in those hens.
George Burns, that's no way to talk about your wife and your wife's friends.
Well, didn't mean you, sweetheart.
Well, it's no way to talk about those other hens either.
Oh, all right.
I'm going inside and practice an etude. Who knows? If it goes well, tomorrow I might try a B-tude.
Well, this is fine.
You said it.
Yeah. Come in.
George, listen, I hear you're going to do the Jack Benny show tonight.
Well,
boy, oh boy, I can't wait to read those commercials, George.
Listen, that fat boy they've got announcing on that show is strictly from hunger.
Bill,
Listen, George Benny only keeps him on because he can laugh.
Bill, say hello to Don Wilson.
Hello, Mr. Wilson. You've heard that fat boy on the Benny. Don Wilson? Oh, hello, Don.
So I'm known to you as Fat Boy, huh, Goodwin?
Oh, well, now, don't get sore, Don. I'm always making up nicknames for people. They never fit.
Well, I don't care about that, but what was that about my announcing?
Oh, nothing, Don, nothing at all. I think you're great. As a matter of fact, Don, I'd like to ask you a favor. You see, I thought maybe you could mention my product on the show tonight. You see, I sell
I'm not interested in what you sell.
Well, but, Don, it's purer than the...
I'm sorry, but there's no place that I can mention it.
No soap, huh?
No soap. I talk about Grape Nuts Flakes, and Grape Nuts Flakes happen to be America's fastest-growing breakfast cereal. Yes, sir, Grape Nuts Flakes are my idea of the most tempting, appetizing, toasty brown breakfast dish that was ever put before a hungry family.
Well, Don, after the family finishes eating that tempting, delicious, toasty brown cereal, they have to wash the dishes now, don't they?
Why, certainly.
Well, what do they use to wash the dishes?
Water, of course. Believe me, Bill, once you taste those...
Don, old man, please, what do they put in the water?
The dishes. Believe me, Bill, once you taste Grape Nuts Flakes with their malty, rich, sweet as a nut flavor, their crisply toasted goodness, you'll know why I'm so enthusiastic. And what's more important, Grape Nuts Flakes are a whole grain cereal, chock full of all-around nourishment. And, Bill, you better make a date for tomorrow's breakfast with Grape Nuts Flakes.
Well, all right, Don, right after I've had my shower with...
Grape Nuts Flakes.
Okay, you win. So long, fat boy.
Well, Don, we're right back where we started.
George, now, why don't you go in and talk with your wife? Put your foot down.
You're darn right I will. I'll show her who's the boss.
Attaboy.
Gracie.
What do you want?
Well, sweetheart, you know that beautiful fur coat you saw in Bergdorf Goodman's?
You mean the one you said was too expensive for me?
Uh-huh. Well, I've got a little surprise for you. If you do the program tonight, that coat will be in your closet in the morning.
Well, if it isn't, we were robbed.
Oh, fine.
Please, Gracie, now...
Now, I'm sorry, boys. You'll have to excuse me now. I've got to dip some spaghetti in ink.
You got a what?
I've got to dip some spaghetti in ink.
That's what I thought you
said.
said.
To fool our little darling duck. You see, the hotel won't send up any worms.
So you got to dip spaghetti
Yes.
in ink? Come on, Don, let's get out of here.
Oh, come on, Herman. Dinner's almost ready. Aha, here's Mama's little precious ducky. You know, Herman, your daddy George is mad at me. But and your daddy George will be so proud of me. Oh, come in.
How do, Miss Burns? I'm Rochester.
Hello, Rochester. I suppose you're looking for Mr. Wilson.
That's right, ma'am. I've been talking to Mr. Benny and... My, poultry.
Oh, Rochester, that's my little son, Herman.
Son?
Well, yes. Don't you think he looks like his daddy?
Don't believe I ever met the bird.
Oh, of course you have. I'm married to him.
You mean Mr. Burns is that duck's papa?
Uh-huh.
Oh, come now.
Well, I wish George was here, too. You'd notice the resemblance if you saw them both walking. Anyway, I think you two ought to be great friends. Herman, shake hands with Rochester.
How do, Mr. Herman? I've held many a drumstick, but that's the first one that ever withdrew voluntarily.
Oh, Rochester, I know he's dying to have a conversation with you. Go on, say something to him.
Is this practical?
Oh, sure. Go on.
Okay. Mr. Herman, what are you going to be doing Meatless Tuesday?
Oh, Rochester, he's busy on Tuesdays. He always goes to Central Park. Would you like to take him for a walk in the park sometime?
You mean you trust me alone with that fat little rascal?
Oh, certainly. He wouldn't hurt you.
The vice versa don't trouble you none.
Oh, no. Well, Rochester, maybe you're silly to wait for Mr. Wilson. I'm not going on Mr. Benny's program anyhow.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yes, the piano is my whole life now. Do you play the piano, Rochester?
No, ma'am, I ain't familiar with ivories when they come in large groups.
Oh. Well, goodbye, Rochester. I must get back to my art. From now on, I intend to woo the muses. Terpsichore, Calliope, Schenectady.
You hear that? It's got us. It's that old black magic that's got us. Yes, sir.
Well, Don, I think we ought to try it again.
No, no, George, I've got a headache.
So have I, but I wish I could get it to go on Jack's program. Come in.
Oh, hello, Dennis.
Gee, Mr. Wilson, you're going to catch it. Mr. Benny just called, and he's all excited because he hasn't heard from you.
Now, Dennis, there's nothing to worry about.
But I don't want Mr. Benny to get high blood pressure with my blood.
Now, just pull yourself together and say hello to George Burns. He's taking Jack's place tonight.
Hello, Dennis. How are you?
Ha, 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 ha!
What's funny?
Ha, 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 ha! Gee, you're a scream, Mr. Burns.
What's this anyway?
Aren't you taking Mr. Benny's place tonight?
Well, what of it?
I was afraid if I didn't laugh, you'd twist my arm like Mr. Benny does.
Say, George, maybe Dennis can persuade Gracie to go on the show.
Dennis?
Sure. Believe it or not, the little dope seems to have a way with women.
Gee, have I?
All right, go in and talk to Gracie. We'll find out.
Yes, sir. Hello, Miss Allen.
Oh, hello, Dennis.
Yes, ma'am. I'm supposed to ask you to be on Mr. Benny's program tonight.
Well, I won't do it.
I don't blame you, Miss Allen. Mr. Benny says some terrible things about your brother, Fred.
Oh, no. Fred's not my brother, Dennis. And please don't call me Miss Allen. I've been Mrs. Burns since one day years ago when a tall, handsome, charming man came along and pronounced George and me man and wife.
But, Mrs. Burns, if you have nothing against Mr. Benny personally, why won't you go on his program?
Well, I simply can't do it, Dennis. You see, I'm an intellectual, and Jack Benny well, he...
Isn't he, though?
Well, I'm glad you see my point. You must understand that we intellectuals care only for the finer things in life. You know, Shakespeare and Beethoven and Walter Pidgeon.
Gee, I've always wanted to meet an intellectual, Mrs. Burns.
Well, how do?
How do? I'll bet you read lots of books, huh?
Oh, yes, Dennis. A day never goes by that I don't pick up a book, to dust it if nothing else.
You know something? I'm crazy about books, too.
Oh, really? Do you like Little Women?
Oh, sure, but I like books even better.
Oh, well, so do I. And, Dennis, don't you just adore poetry?
Yeah.
Oh, I know most of Longfellow by heart. Can you ever forget the opening lines of Hiawatha?
Yeah.
Me too. You know what, Dennis? You're the first person I've ever met who's my intellectual equal.
I guess there aren't many of us.
Dennis, believe me, you are just being wasted on the Jack Benny program.
Yeah, wasted.
Imagine you singing.
Yeah, singing.
Why, you should be reading poetry.
Yeah, poetry. I'm crazy about poems.
Yeah, crazy.
I've always dreamed that someday I'd get up on Mr. Benny's program and recite If.
If he'd let you?
Oh, no, If by Kipling.
Oh, that's one of my favorites. How does it go?
I'll recite it for you. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster,
if... Stop. Don't go on. It's too beautiful.
Gee, I'm sorry. I should have warned you that I was pretty heavenly.
Oh, Dennis, we must do... Oh, come in. Why, Tootsie Sagwell. Hello, Tootsie.
Oh, Gracie, I thought you were practicing, so I... Oh, does he belong to anybody?
Well, not yet, Tootsie. Dennis, I want you to meet my girlfriend, Tootsie Sagwell. Tootsie, Dennis Day.
Oh, my, what a gorgeous hunk of child. Hello, Dennis.
Hello, Miss Sagwell. Say, haven't I seen you someplace before?
Oh, isn't it cute?
Tootsie is as cultured as we are, Dennis. And she has a lovely singing voice.
Oh, I haven't.
I'd like to hear her sing sometime, Miss Sagwell. I'll bet you've got a lovely vibrato.
Oh, what he said.
Tootsie, Dennis is on Jack Benny's program, but he's very unhappy. You see, he's cultured like us.
Oh, I knew you were a kindred soul, Dennis. You have such a sensitive face.
I'll say, every month it kills me when I have to shave it.
Hey, I just had a marvelous idea.
What, Gracie?
I will go on Jack Benny's program with you and Dennis.
Huh?
Well, we'll change the name of that show from the Grape Nuts Flake program to 30 Minutes of Refinement. I'll play the piano, Tootsie will sing, and Dennis will recite.
Oh, boy, now you're cooking with gas, if you'll pardon the expression.
I'll tell George. Oh, George!
Yeah?
George, I've changed my mind. I've decided to go on Jack Benny's program after all.
You mean it?
Yes.
Well, bless your heart. And now I'm going to get you that hat that goes with that fur coat.
You mean this one?
Yeah, that's the one. Come on, let's go to the studio.
Ready, everybody?
Yes, Don.
Yep, all set, Don.
Well, stand by. We'll be on the air in just a second. The Grape Nuts Flakes program.
That's enough, Don. Step aside, please.
Huh? Gracie. Wait a minute, he hasn't...
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present 30 Minutes of Refinement. Ready, Dennis and Tootsie?
Yeah, okay.
All right, let's go.
If you can keep your head when all around you, if you can trust yourself calm and doubt, if you can wait...
Stop it! honestly, Jack, I did the best I could. Good night, everybody.
If you can keep your head when all...
George and Gracie will be right back, so I have just a moment to make this one request. Friends, for the sake of your loved ones in service, for the sake of your loved ones at home, give to the American Red Cross War Fund. The Red Cross works on every war front, giving skilled care, saving lives. The Red Cross stands by on the home front, ready to meet sudden danger. But the Red Cross must raise $125 million to carry on its good work. So do your part. Give and give generously to the American Red Cross War Fund. Now, here are George and Gracie.
Oh, good night, everybody. And Jack, hurry and get well.
And please send the muffler. Good night, folks.
Program next week when we'll be broadcasting from Hollywood with Mary Livingston, Dennis Day, Rochester, and yours truly, Don Wilson. The makers of Grape Nuts Flakes want to extend their sincerest thanks to George Burns and Gracie Allen for pinch hitting for Jack Benny on tonight's show. George and Gracie were presented every Tuesday night over another network by the makers of Swan, the new white floating soap.